so we'll just have to see what happens. Now, before I talk about the range of movement the horse has to be capable of in order to avoid tripping, I'm just going to talk a little bit about wonderful Mel, girl, who is a saint. She's an absolute saint, and she's one of these horses that she tries as hard as the rider, and so I don't feel like I'm doing all the work. She's pushing her own effort in, and she really wants to work with the rider, and she's one of these horses. I think all horses are just born intelligent because they have universal intelligence of horse intelligence, and it's very what's the word? I've got the word now. But for us to assume that horses I think we're only deceiving ourselves, and we do the horse a disservice. So I think all horses have horse intelligence, which we sometimes find it hard to recognise as intelligence. But sometimes you get a horse, and that is one of them, who seems more intelligent than others by virtue of working out what it is that you want. Because the other fallacy, if you like, when it comes to horses in riding is people assume that because the horse is a certain age, or because other horses do a certain thing, that your horse should be doing this, and why isn't he doing that, and he knows what I want. Well, very often they don't know what they want, and they don't know how to do it. If they did know how to do it, they'd go ahead and do it. That's the horse nature. So, if they're not doing the right thing, we need to break it down for them and show them another way, and show them exactly the steps that we want them to follow so they are able to do what we want. Mel is one of these horses that she works it out really quickly, and she kind of like, well, she's a bit like a dog, you can sort of talk to a dog and they appear more intelligent. It's just a different kind of intelligence, but Mel, she really does work out things, and she doesn't, shall we say, this training is largely, in recognised terms, it's very unpressured training, but by virtue of actually taking them out and riding them, that is pressure for a horse, and clearly if you're going to make changes to a horse's way of going, there has to be a level of pressure in order to do so. Now some horses they can't cope with pressure for various reasons. It could be the way they've been formerly ridden and worked with, it could just be their nature. But Mel is one of these wonderful horses that I sort of know, I've never put it to the test, but really whatever pressure you put on her, within reason, she'd work with you to find the right outcome. So horses mostly try and find the right outcome that suits them, which is understandable, because to them things that we think are bad, they don't think it's bad, it's just them responding to what we're saying or asking. But Mel tries to work out what the rider wants rather than a typical horse reaction. That's not to say she doesn't react like a horse, she does, she's a horse, but she's one of these wonderfully rare creatures that just so works with you. And of course it's easy to take a horse like this for granted, and also it's easy in the wrong hands to abuse what is a real gift of an animal. And Mel is a gift of an animal, and I've never said this before, but if there was one horse that I could keep, it would be her. because I get pleasure out of riding all the horses, especially, you know, when we've gone through the training, they come out the other side and they know their job. But Mel, is that a car? Well, I think I might go the other way because I haven't got my badge. Go here. Yes, so Mel is just one of these forever horses. She's just, yeah, she's a forever horse. So, and for an older person who really values something, you know, that's forward going, thinking, but totally safe and steady mentally, I really value that now at my time of life. And because she's always with me, I can chatter away, and I know that she'll still be there despite the chatter. Mind you, I'm riding her. So now when we come along here, I don't suppose the camera will pick it up, but the camber, if you like, of the surface of these tracks varies enormously. So there's stones to pick their feet up over, there's tracks that the height varies, and there's sometimes sticks in the way and things like that. So what the horse has to do, has to alter its stride within a rhythm to avoid tripping. So they may have to, a bit like when they're jumping, they may have to take a short stride or put in a long one. Now, I mean, imagine a horse sort of tripped over every fence. Well, some of them do till they get the hang of it. But it's a bit the same out here, although you're not going over a fence. So you've got to have the horse has to be able to alter his length of stride within the rhythm to avoid tripping. And to do that, he has to know where his feet are. And the horse gets to know where his feet are by the rider bringing attention to the feet. The rider needs to direct the horse's feet like a conductor would direct an orchestra to make sure that they play a nice symphony. So the rider is like the conductor, and the rider needs to orchestrate the performance of the horse by being very particular about where the horse is going, and then leaving enough freedom of the head and neck so that the horse can alter, lengthen the stride or shorten the stride according to the demands of the terrain. Now, horses that aren't able to do that for all the reasons that I've already mentioned are likely or are going to trip. I'm trotting down quite a steep hill here. I'm balancing her with my body. So she says, okay, we can come back to walk. So that's why these forest trails are absolutely brilliant, because the horse is always not necessarily putting its feet flat to the ground like on a road, certainly not like in a school. They're adjusting themselves, they're shortening themselves, they're lengthening themselves, and they're getting to know where their feet are, and they can do that really well through mud. Right. I wonder if there's anything to trot over. I mean, it's the same thing as trotting poles, you know. You get the distance just right for the horse's stride, it just trots over them. But if you change the distances, they have to shorten and lengthen. And then if you do that on a curve or a semicircle, that, you know, the horse isn't being restricted and held in and gathered up. It's very, very freeing for the shoulder. So I like to do tons of work in freeing the shoulder. Even as I go on this straight line, I'm freeing the shoulder because you can never have the shoulder free enough. And also there's some exercises you can do on the ground to encourage the shoulder to be more flexible. Now here's some really stuff that she'll have to adjust her stride coming through here. Yeah, I'm helping her a little bit and saying, well, best not rush, you know, look out for yourself. So she said, well, if I'm going to look out for myself, I'll come back to walk. Oh, and another thing that causes tripping is, you know, not every farrier is able to balance the horse's foot. And if the foot isn't balanced, then that is going to cause tripping. And of course, to the naked eye, and if you're not a farrier, it's very hard to tell whether he's balanced the foot or not. But many horses, I'll go down this other one. Many horses have a tripping problem due to not having balanced feet.